So I know it's the playoffs, no one cares about the Warriors right now, but there's been some recent rumors that the Warriors may be interested in Brandon Ingram, and I think I am uniquely qualified to speak on this situation, being a Pelicans fan and Steph Curry being my favorite player in the NBA. And in my opinion, Brandon Ingram on the Warriors makes near perfect sense. And the first thing people are going to say about Brandon Ingram is he's a bucket, he can get his own shot, and sure, but almost equally as important is he's an elite passer for his position. And when you've seen the Warriors in their playing game, they have Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga trying to run the offense at the top of the key, getting Steph Curry open. Those guys aren't capable of doing that. Getting someone like Brandon Ingram in there that can get his own shot while also helping free Steph Curry is exactly what the Warriors need. So in a lot of these plays the Warriors run for Andrew Wiggins, usually passing out of it is not really an option, especially in a pick and roll where Brandon Ingram's passing really excels. Think about these simple passes you're seeing from Wiggins and how much that changes the Warriors' offense. And Wiggins is not capable of making these reads on a consistent basis. And this is why a lot of times we see the Warriors' offense just completely stall out, because they have guys like Wiggins, Clay, Kuminga, Moody, all looking for cutters, looking for Steph Curry off ball. And if Steph Curry's not going to change the way he plays, if he's not going to embrace being this full-time on-ball point guard, someone like Brandon Ingram is exactly what he needs, and you could probably get Brandon Ingram pretty cheap right now. And also being a Pelicans fan, seeing the chemistry and timing, the connection he had with Jackson Hayes, I don't think Trayce Jackson-Davis is a Jackson Hayes level athlete, but that pick and roll would probably be deadly as well. The Warriors brought in Chris Paul to help with that, and he absolutely did, but the problem with Chris Paul is he couldn't score. So he could only be so effective coming off these screens when no one's expecting him to shoot the ball. Obviously, Brandon Ingram doesn't have that problem. I feel like he would have great chemistry with Trayce Jackson-Davis. Another area where Brandon Ingram can help this Warriors team is finishing inside. Recently, Brandon Ingram has become a great finisher around the rim. I know this is a flawed way to look at it, but if you just look at percentage from within 3 feet, this year Brandon Ingram shot better than Zion, shot better than Kuminga, shot better than Aaron Gordon. I know it's a flawed way to look at it. I know those guys have different level of difficulty on these shots. But if you consider Brandon Ingram's situation, it's not like he has a ton of spacing. So imagine you get him in that Warrior system with that Warrior spacing. The easy looks he's going to get at the rim, he's going to be finishing at a very high rate at the rim as well. I guess the easiest comparison here should be to Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, crazy bounce Wiggins, crazy posters Wiggins. This year, Wiggins shot 64% at the rim while BI shot 75% at the rim. Now again, this was a down year for Wiggins. Last year was 71%. Year before that was 73%. That's usually not a problem for Wiggins. But if I had to guess, I would say Wiggins' looks at the rim were a lot cleaner than BI's looks at the rim this year. I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty confident in that. Now, another worry the Warriors fans might have about Brandon Ingram is his three-point shooting. He's a bit of a reluctant shooter, but for the Warriors, that's not really a problem, especially if they're able to keep Klay Thompson. But for what it's worth, with the Warriors, I feel like more of his threes would be coming from the corner, as with the Pelicans. A lot of his threes lately, the few he takes, have been coming from above the break. Now from the corner, if you look at his Pelicans career, well, even his full career, he's about 39% from the corners in his career. And I think BI is the type of three-point shooter that needs to know where his shots are coming from. So I feel like if he's integrated in this Warrior system and he knows he has to take that three-point shot, he's going to knock it down at a very high clip. And I've been showing you guys a bunch of clips of Brandon Ingram finding shooters, because obviously that's what you think about when you think about the Warriors. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson shooting the ball, and Brandon Ingram is one of the best at finding shooters. And assuming the Warriors would be able to keep Moody, I feel like he'd be hitting Moody on a lot of these cuts. Moody has pretty great timing of when to cut. So as you guys can tell, I'm pretty sold on the idea of Brandon Ingram joining the Warriors. I'm not going to sit here and act like BI doesn't have his flaws, but I feel like the Warriors need a lot of what BI brings, and BI could probably use what the Warriors bring as far as just that structure. For the longest time, I've been complaining about how BI doesn't get any easy looks. Now, a lot of that is on him, but it's also on the situation he's in. And if he's on the Warriors, not only is he going to get Steph Curry easy looks, Steph Curry's going to get easy looks for him. Draymond's going to get easy looks for him. We're going to see BI as the roller sometimes. We're going to see him on that 4-on-3 situation where he could pull up for that midi, or he could find a shooter in the corner, or he could find the lob. Brandon Ingram can do all that. He just hasn't been in great positions to do so, and also that hasn't been the way he actually wants to play the game. Now, maybe this Thunder series changes his mind a little bit. There was a report from Shams. Actually, I'll just play the report for you guys.
But there were frustrations throughout Brandon Ingram as far as where he stood late in the playoffs, obviously sitting in one of the late games during the play-in tournament. And I'm told Ingram and Willie Green had an exchange at Game 2 in the locker room. Sources tell me Ingram essentially told Green he wanted the ball, he wanted Green to help him get the ball. And given how quiet Brandon Ingram is in nature, that direct approach with Green and how he spoke up toward the head coach, that obviously was a seminal moment in the locker room, something that did have a lasting impact.
So you can look at that two different ways, right? Brandon Ingram told Willie Green to get me the ball. First of all, I don't view that as a negative, but if you guys view that as a negative, sure. But the more important thing said was, help me get the ball. Help me get the ball. Other words, run a play for me. Get me an easier look. I've been saying it since Willie Green became the Pelicans coach. Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson really get no easy looks. And maybe that moment in the playoffs gets Brandon Ingram to realize he has to get easier looks, not only for himself, but for his teammates. And if Brandon Ingram goes to the Warriors, we're going to see the best, most efficient, getting easy looks from BI that we've ever seen. And when it's actually time for him to get in his ISO bag and create something out of nothing, he's going to have the space to be able to do it. But listen, if you're completely out on Brandon Ingram as a player, I can't blame you. Watching what we just watched in the playoffs against the Thunder, I can't blame you. If you feel like he's overrated, takes bad shots, doesn't play defense, I can't really argue with you on those points. I can't. There's a reason he might be available to trade for, but I feel like his specific skill set, it doesn't fit everywhere, right? But when you have a player like Steph Curry that prefers being off ball a lot of times, Brandon Ingram's playmaking, along with his scoring, but it's playmaking. And that's the only part where I still stick up for Brandon Ingram, because I feel like he remains the most underrated passer in the NBA, and that next to Steph Curry would be deadly. I already talked about his finishing at the rim. Think about all the cuts to the rim he would get playing next to Steph Curry and Draymond. I feel like it would just unlock something else in Brandon Ingram. Maybe that's wishful thinking, and in an ideal world, they would be able to get Brandon Ingram without giving up Wiggins. I don't really see how that's possible. But if they can get BI and then relegate Wiggins to just this 3-and-D role, because Wiggins' defense is still extremely important on this team. And if they don't have Wiggins and they just have BI and Moody, they're going to need another wing defender. You can't really count on GP2. But I'm not sure how that works out. I'm not sure about the Chris Paul contract situation. But if it could be Chris Paul as the salary filler with Kuminga and a couple first, whatever the deal might be, that would be the ideal world. And I also feel like getting Brandon Ingram, or just getting that second playmaker, puts Klay Thompson back into his natural role. Just shoot the ball, Klay. He won't have to do too much, and as I keep stressing in this video, Brandon Ingram will find him. We'd probably see Klay and BI spend a lot of time together in the second unit, kind of like we've seen Chris Paul and Klay this year. And no, I'm not calling BI Chris Paul. I just want to talk about this because that's one element that everyone's going to overlook. The passing element, the second playmaker element, not just the scoring element, which obviously that helps as well. But I'm all in on Brandon Ingram to the Warriors. You guys let me know why you would do it or why you wouldn't do it. And if not, where would you like to see Brandon Ingram go, assuming he's leaving the Pelicans, which I feel like most people agree at this point he's probably not going to be on the Pelicans next year. But you guys let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.